Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This magnificent Land Rover is a little bit crap. It's a four-wheel drive, but diff lock and low range doesn't really work. I mean, it works until it pops out of gear. It uses 21 litres of fuel per 100 kilometres, which is horrific. Probably because the ignition system likes to share the spark around everywhere. The exhaust has been pilgrimly repaired with scaffolding pipe in about 5 or 6 different places. So it sounds like two broken tractors playing tug of war. And one of the head gaskets is blowing. So in this video, I'm going to make the blue parts of the car more shiny. Just so no one gets the wrong idea, I am not respraying this car. I mean, one day I might, but not this day. For now, I just want to see if I can make it look better. Less homeless person sleeping in a car. I really see myself as more of a horse and hound type of guy. So we'll start here. Obviously the clear coat has gone. I can scratch what's left off with my fingernail. But more interesting than that, the blue underneath the clear coat has really faded badly. But the exposed blue has turned purple. And here's an exposed patch I hit with the buffing machine. And you can see that the original blue is still hiding within the paint. So what I'm going to attempt to do is remove just the clear coat and then cut or buff the surface of the base coat and then put new clear coat over the top. Yep, I'm sure that's going to go really well. Okay, so here's the situation. This section here is what I did with the sandpaper. And as you can see, it's pretty much impossible to take the clear coat off without going through the base coat. However, I played around a bit and I think I have a better technique with a razor blade. It comes off pretty easily with a blade. Oh, this is a good one. It doesn't normally go this well. I'm guessing you guys are going to get some montage music, because this is going to take a long time. Probably faster than 7. Okay, so I've scraped off the entire top surface. I haven't done this front edge. That's going to take quite a while. But it's going to rain soon, and I'm too impatient to wait until tomorrow to see how this is going to turn out. So let's get buffing. Oh yeah, this is going to be good. Goodish. Let's not get carried away. There are a couple of patches where the blue paint peeled off with the clear coat. So I'm going to end up with some patina. But that's okay. Some people pay a lot of money for faux tina like this. For those of you who are wondering, and I know this will be keeping you awake at night, the Discovery lettering isn't correct. Originally, this bonnet would have had nothing on it, and later when Land Rover did add letters, they added the words Land Rover. Now, I can't scrape the clear coat off this front edge with a razor blade. I tried, but the clear is in better condition, especially under the letters, so it doesn't peel off easy. So I sanded it off with the DA. And yes, if I was trying to save original paint on a precious classic car, maybe I could have painfully sanded down each layer with the tips of my fingers. But no. Well, I mean, it could be worse. So faced with this horrific mess, I did other things while I pondered life. I refuse to respray this car. I don't want to open that can of worms. I'll be here forever. Well, it's a week or two later. I don't actually mind this. I think it's 100 times better than peeling clear coat. But I've caved, and I've just ordered a couple of rattle cans from Super Heap Auto. I've never bought paint from Super Cheap before, so we'll see how that goes. Right now, I'm going to make at least a token effort to flatten this down. You can see me here preparing the whole panel. I need to do that for the clear coat anyway. Just a quick note, I'm using maroon Scotch-Brite underneath clear, which is fine in the context of this old Rover, but if you're painting something nice, you might see the odd scratch through the clear. It's a little bit aggressive. Alright, I'm ready to go. I've got me pre-mix spray can, and I've done a little test spray, and it's kind of sort of the same colour-ish. That's close enough. Now, I'm not going to respray the whole bonnet, just because I'm not going to. So the plan is to sort of do these sides across the front and this side. And you can probably see there's a body line running through here. So the plan is to just kind of let the paint drift over that. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting the super cheap paint to be this close a match. I mean, there's chink marks and stone chips all through it, and the blue's a little motley, but for a couple of sprays with a rattle can, I think it's going pretty well. Well, good morning. It is not the next day, it is the day after. It poured with rain all yesterday. In fact, it even hailed briefly. So hopefully the paint has survived, because this cover is not exactly waterproof. It would be even more awesome if I didn't have to redo the masking. I'm Scotch-Briting everything again. Two reasons. Firstly, I guess the rattle can paint should be scuffed for adhesion, but also I want to knock the metallic down in the new paint so it blends in a little better, because there's not much sparkle left in the old paint. And ease off on the spray painting judgment, eh? Yeah, now I'm watching myself, I can see the gun is way too far away from the panel, but I'm leaning over a wide bonnet on a high vehicle, trying not to drag anything across the surface. And I'm not a spray painter, so bugger off. And of course, the paint isn't perfect. I'll be flattening it anyway. That's just something you have to do if you're painting outside with dust and insects landing everywhere. But even as it is, it's pretty good, considering where we came from. In any case, for half a can of spray paint, some clear that I already had, and a few hours messing about, that's a pretty nice transformation. Let's move on to the roof. The roof is, in some ways, a better starting point than the bonnet, because the clear coat has completely gone. Some previous owner possum hunting munter has rust-proofed the patch in the middle. There's also this random spot of nothing that needs dealing with, and the sealant in the gutters has completely perished. Okay, that looks pretty good. Nice and clean, ready for some paint. There is a little bit of rust back in this back corner that I'm currently trying to remove with phosphoric acid, but otherwise it all looks pretty clean. So to start with, I'm laying down a thick layer of epoxy. 2 coats in fact. Epoxy is excellent at bridging gaps. You can lay it on thick like cream, and it'll cure in that shape. So just this primer has formed a thick impervious coating in the gutters. But of course I am still going to use seam sealer. And I reshaped this chisel because I like destroying chisels. And then another 2 thick coats of epoxy, because I want the seam sealer to be fully encapsulated. Hopefully that'll prevent it from cracking so soon in the future. Okay, so that's the guttering done. Now back to the roof. The plan is to basically spray the side of it with the blue paint, just like the bonnet, and leave the middle, because you can't really see it. And that means getting rid of all of this crappy peeling clear coat. Now I don't really have to worry about that on the top because it's gone. And on the sides, since I'm going over with blue anyway, I really just need to get this back to the point that it's not flaking. Now this in place. Okay. So at first I tried to remove the primer with a wire brush. That didn't work, but it did work pretty well on the remaining clear coat. I had to use the sander on the grey paint, but that's fine. It just means another few squirts of blue spray paint. And I'll just brush on a smidge of phosphoric acid. Just leave that a couple of minutes and then just wipe it down with a rag. Not too much. Just get the bulk of the liquid off. And now this next part is pretty satisfying. Scotch brighting the whole roof. Let's see how good this old paint's going to come out. Now the roof is a steel panel, so I'm quickly covering any exposed metal with a zinc primer. If you're not familiar with Land Rovers, all of the other outer panels are made from aluminium, for speed. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to have to relocate. I don't think there's any way I can spray clear on the top of this, just standing on my little stepladder on a hill. So I need to move somewhere flat. You might be wondering why I don't just do everything up on the flat lawn. Well, first of all, it is a little precarious going up and down. But the main issue is that the lawn is covered in trees, and birds like trees, and birds have poor bowel control, and something like a roof or a bonnet is a pretty big target. And so begins the epic roof respray, with the spray can just on the edges. Now you're probably thinking, why is this moron messing about with spray cans instead of just repainting panels properly? If I'm putting in all this effort, why not just paint it properly? Okay, so here's the thing. I could go and get real base coat mixed up, 4 litres, strip each panel, prime it, fill all the small dents, prime it, paint it, but I would be here for months. And where do I stop? If the outside of the car is going to look really good, what about the door jambs? What about the engine bay? And I don't have time for this discovery to turn into a project. If I limit myself to a couple of spray cans and clear that I already have, then I know it's not going to be perfect, not even close. So I don't need to worry about trying to make it perfect. Well, good morning. It's been about 6 weeks since I spoke to you guys. You see, I've got the kids that go to kindy and lick shopping trolleys and are constantly attracting sickness, and we had a particularly bad run, so I haven't had much YouTube time during the past month or so. However, there has been some progress, so let me catch you up. The bonnet has been sanded and polished, shiny and flat, although future me does put a massive gouge in it and cuts through the colour trying to fix it and ends up respraying it again, but don't worry about that. I painted the sunroof surrounds and roof racks, although I forgot to do the little black buttons on the sunroof, which is annoying, and the roof is covered in water and pollen right now. It looks fine, trust me. The paint on top of the right hand guard was stuffed and badly faded, so I quickly sanded back the damage, sprayed some of the rattle can blue over the top and then clear, and it looks great. And then there was this corrosion that needed dealing with, which I epoxied and then painted. Although this is the third can of blue and I didn't want to buy a number 4 and I ran out of paint before I could fully cover the repair, I needed about 3 more sprays, but the can didn't have it in it. And the acrylic lacquer also burnt the edge of the epoxy, but whatever, it's right at the bottom of the car, don't worry about it. And then cut the other existing blue panels, and they look okay. The shiny blue paint really highlights how bad the trim is, and the 10,000 stone chips. But that's okay, this side looks good. This side of the car, not so much. Now look, I do appreciate the workmanship that went into this fine paint job, especially the handprint, but I think I'm ready to move on from the homeless hobo look, and I have a solution. I bought the entire side of another Land Rover. This all happened months ago, back in March I think. And boy have I been hanging out to put these on the vehicle. Now you probably saw on that footage that I do have a replacement rear quarter, but I'm not going to put that on now. This rear quarter is quite damaged. It's pretty bashed up around this bottom edge, and the paint is fairly perished. But the problem is that the previous sheep licker put tyres on that are about 3 sizes too big, and they catch this edge. These tyres are basically brand new, and you can see how this one's been completely sliced through the tread. And I don't feel like spending a fortune on a full set of new tyres right now, so I'm not changing them anytime soon. The point is I'm going to leave this old rear quarter on until I change the tyres sometime in the future. There's no point putting a nice straight one on and then immediately ripping up the bottom edge. So I think given that there's rain all around and I don't have much time left today, it's a good time to start pulling a door off. In fact, the rain's coming down right now. Might just have to cover the hole with a tarp or something overnight. There it goes. Now where am I putting this? Didn't plan ahead. Okay, so how does that look? Not too bad. Not too bad. We've got normal car door gap down here, so obviously that's way too tight. And on the front edge, well, this is pretty big, even by Land Rover standards. So the door needs to come this way a bit. And on these, I don't think there's any adjustment in the fixings themselves. I think it's a case of removing shims. On most cars, the hinge is one piece, and there is a lot of adjustment where the hinges bolt to the frame of the door. So you can loosen the bolts and move everything around. The downside being that every time you remove a door, you completely lose its alignment. The door that I took off had one on the top and none on the bottom. So let's just copy that. So you could argue that Land Rover does this better. The hinges are in 2 parts, so you can remove and reinstall the doors without adjusting anything. The shims are installed at the factory, and nothing should ever need changing. Unless, of course, you get doors off another vehicle. Okay, yeah, that's going to be better. That's going to be Land Rover good enough. Let me hold you for just a second, because I know what you're thinking. Yes, the gap on this side is small, and the gap on this side is massive. That's the way it's supposed to be, okay? Now it's just a case of swapping the window frame into this door, and the regulators. In fact, I swapped all the linkages and latches over from the brown doors. Perfect. Oh yeah. This one should hopefully just drop on. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. In fact, that might even be good enough. Unfortunately, this rubber strip doesn't line up at all. There's been a really bad bog job in behind here, and somebody didn't put this back on nice and straight. But that's okay. First time I'm seeing it all one colour. I kind of miss the brown doors, to be honest. Nope, moving forward. And I apologise for not showing you guys the action, but there was someone here to help me lift, so I quickly took the opportunity, and boom, a blue boot door. And back to driving a V8. Oh yeah, that's expensive. Now, the last major thing that needs addressing is this front guard. This is the original one, I haven't changed anything yet. I do, however, have another one from this vehicle. Let's have a look at that. So here's the one off the vehicle from the wreckers. And overall it's pretty straight. There is a small dent here, which is within tolerance. Don't need to worry about that. There is, however, a nasty little bit of damage on this top edge, where somebody has dragged something across the edge of the guard, probably trying to pull the motor out or something like that. It's quite nasty because it's right on the fold. It might be a little bit tricky to get right, but that's what we're going to try and do, because my guard has a couple of gnarly dents. Well, the dents themselves probably weren't too bad until some hillbilly Taranaki heathen tried to fix them with a ball peen hammer. There's this one and another one up by the door. Now both of these dents are pretty easily fixable, but I'm sure looking at it that the metal has already been stretched, so the paint would need stripping off, and then it would have to be planished and shrunk, and then of course the whole guard would need repainting. That's why I'm going to use the other one. I'm going to keep this, but for now I'm going to use the other one. So first of all, I may as well straighten out this edge, even though you can't see it because it's under the bonnet. And I'm using a stripping disc here. These will mark aluminium, and they also generate a lot of heat, so they can turn a panel into corrugated iron if you're not careful. I'm not going to attempt to metal finish these dents out. Oh no, we'll be using bog. But I do need to get it good enough that the body line is straight. I can't have a piece of guard sticking out into the gap between the bonnet. It would look terrible. Okay, so there are our dents. Yeah, I can't get this edge perfect, and I don't want to bash this up too much. Okay, I think that's fine. I'll just feather these paint edges out and then we'll put some filler on it. There's no point trying to be a hero and getting these perfect. All I'll do is stretch the metal and make lumps. I have acid washed and sanded the surface of the aluminium. I would normally only put filler over primer, but this is very good filler and it's designed to go straight over metal, including aluminium. And I don't have a specific aluminium etch primer. Well, I do, but it's expired. And I don't want to wait 2 days for epoxy to cure. I'm not doing a high-end restoration here. This will be fine. And yes, this means I did have to buy a 4th spray can, which probably makes this a bit uneconomical, but anyway. And it's extremely windy right now and kind of hopeless for spraying paint, but here we go. Oh yeah, like a fire hose. None of it is hitting the panel. Okay, first coat done. Man, these cans spray terribly. Man, I love a good thick clear coat. I would put some more across the top, but there's a couple of gnarly chunks sitting right there and I don't really want to paint them in. So we'll call that good. Alright, And here I've removed the tape, and I can see I'm in trouble. It is a soft edge, but I got greedy. The tape line is supposed to be the edge of the feather, not the edge of the paint. Just there to keep overspray off the rest of the panel. Hopefully it will polish out. First, I've got to get the old guard off. There's this really annoying screw right in the back under the bonnet here. I suppose you're supposed to take the bonnet off to take the guard off. That's car maker logic. The rest are very easy. Posi drive 3. Don't go using your Phillips screwdriver on these like a heathen. Honestly, apart from the fact that nobody uses Posi drive screws anymore, well, electricians do. Posi drive should have just replaced Phillips. That would have made the world a better place. Now, am I going to be able to get this off without removing or destroying this piece of black plastic? I don't think so. Now, as you can see, it doesn't exactly come out. Oh, that's promising. Can we just keep sliding it this way? Oh yeah! Now, can I just sort of reverse that for the new guard? Oh yeah. Oh, hang on. Still got masking tape on it. Be back in a minute. Oh yeah, that is nice. Precise. All right, let's blend this in. Yeah, this transition is a bit of a cock-up, to be honest. I think I'm going to have to fix that. You might not be able to see it on camera, but it's not great. See, what happened was I got greedy with my blue spray paint and came down too close. I really wanted the blue to finish about here and just some speckliness further down. If I'd planned for that, I would have put the tape right on this seam. Anyway, it's perfectly fixable. I know a guy who can paint stuff. Poorly. Ah, I forgot to pull the indicator through. Ah, I lost it. I'll see you later. And that's it. It's done. The entire car is blue and free of peeling clear coat. Now, if I want the blue parts to look nice, there's still a lot of cutting and polishing, filling in paint chips, things like that need doing. But that sort of stuff, I can do anytime. Let's go for a drive and see this thing in all its blue glory. I think there's some potential in this old Rover. And of course, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you don't miss the brown doors too much. I'll see you next time.